Hi, my name is Livingston, and welcome today as we go through my first book, Value-Based Leadership. And as I said, uh, the book is already in Amazon, and also we have a hard copy is already available. And one of the things that I mentioned is that the book forms the basis of what we formed the Value-Based Academy. This is a course. There are several courses that I've already put there, and one of them, my first course, is Value-Based Leadership course. And as I said, this book tackles 25 challenges of leadership that I've gone through in my life, in my leadership in the corporate world, and also in the church ministry, and also managing also in the community. And so what I'll be doing is for every challenge, I'll be taking like half an hour or so, just to get into the details and maybe to explain. And after that, I'm sure I'll be hosting more webinars and discussions, just to go through the book and to see how we can tackle these challenges. The reason I compiled the book is because I want to pass the knowledge and the information and my experience on what I have gone through. And so the first one, talking about the first challenge that I put there, is what you can get is leadership challenge. Number one is managing internal, external challenges. So there are two types of challenges. So we have the external challenges of leadership. These are challenges that come out from public scrutiny. Whenever you are a leader, people are watching over you. The people you are leading, they're checking on you. If you are leading a corporate organization, the people you lead. If you're in a church ministry, the people you shepherd, they're always checking on you, and there's that public scrutiny, and we dwell in an area where we have limited resources and conflicts within the teams, and criticism. Number one is a lot of criticism. If you are a leader, you will be criticized, and it's important for us to have that self-awareness that as a leader you have to deal with issues of external challenges. And then also we have internal challenges. Internal challenges are the challenges that emanate from yourself, from your personality, from whom you are. And some of these are basically fear, insecurity, and there's what mostly is referred as imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is when you get into a new title, a new office, and you feel like you are not worth it. And I think everybody who comes into a new position, that is something they go through. I remember in my life in the corporate world, I've been in many managerial positions, and every time you get into a new role, there's always that feeling of you're not very sure, you're feeling like an imposter. And so this is a very critical internal challenge that you really need to know how to deal with it. Even in the ministry, when I was appointed a pastor, there was those challenges. Am I really worth? And then, I've failed there. These times I've dropped the ball. Am I worth to be a pastor? And then after that, when I elevated to another role of being a reverend, now that's another even senior position. And you also go through that feeling. And so you really need to know how to tackle. Every time you go to a new role, you get into a marriage, am I really a good mother? Will I make a good wife, a good husband? So this is, it's important to know that such challenges that come, that are internal, the fear, the insecurity, decision fatigue. Sometimes you are looked upon as a leader to make so many decisions, and people are looking at you, and you really feel like you don't have the strength, because many times you're the one strengthening people, encouraging people. But sometimes really as a leader, nobody comes to encourage you. So how do you lead people who you're always encouraging and nobody comes to encourage you? So these are internal conflicts and internal challenges that you really have to deal with them. I remember the first time I was, I went to as a senior consultant in Dubai. That was another, I just finished a very big assignment in Kenya. It's for managing the 787. And then I moved to a new role abroad, away from my family, a new environment, and there was that imposter syndrome within me. We rather make it as a senior consultant in a new environment with other people from other races of the world, and whereas I was the only person, a black person, an African. So there's that conflict that comes in you, and as a leader you really need to know how to manage the internal conflicts. So as we say, number one, there's the external conflicts. These come from outside people, the public, the people you're managing. They look at you, they'll criticize you, public criticism. If you don't want to be in leadership, if you hate criticism, just forget about leadership. The higher you are in the leadership, the more criticism, because you carry more more weight and more big decisions. And then the third conflict that we need to look at, challenge in leadership, is by the role itself, the role, that position that you're having. So there are high expectations in that role you're having. As a CEO, you're managing through times that the external environment right now, what's happening, it's very unpredictable, and the high expectations that you need to figure out something. And that is one of the challenges. We say it's lonely at the top, because you are there alone. You have to make big decisions. People are looking at you, and every time they are ready to criticize you. And so there's also emotional strain and the constraint that comes, especially even in ministry. There's a lot of pressures on the ministers, for them to live in a certain way, their children to be in a certain way, to behave in a certain way. And some of these things are beyond you as a person. And so, in summary, these are the three main conflicts, challenges that I look at them. And the key issue is, how do you manage them? So we talk about managing the public, the external challenges that come because of criticism. And so how you cope with them is be proactive, build people you can stand with, people who can coach you, people you can talk to, people you can share what you're doing. You really need to have emotional discipline, emotional intelligence on how you deal with the challenges and criticism. When they come, take them positively. And so the biggest challenge of the three of them is actually dealing with internal challenges. Because this, number one, you really have to appreciate and recognize that you have the internal challenges. You have the insecurity. You are not secure. Maybe you have fear, and there's that issue of imposter syndrome. You really need to know how to deal with it. And so internal challenges are the most dangerous, they are most difficult, and you really need to know how to deal with the fear. You need to have the confidence as a leader to deal with the bitterness, to deal with the defensiveness. There are people who are very defensive. They are leaders. They never take any criticism. They don't listen to the other people. They surround themselves with the yes people who they just want to hear them tell them what they want, and then they ignore the other people, which really is not very good as a leader, because you need to listen to everybody before you make those decisions. So self-doubt, how do you deal with that, and how do you cope with this? And I've dealt here, and in my personal life, I think I've seen that dealing with internal conflicts is the most important as a leader. You really need to know to be honest with yourself, self-reflection, agree and be honest. If there's any fears, if there's any insecurity, if there's any self-doubt, if there's any feeling like an imposter, you really need to have to deal with these issues. And how do you deal with them? Number one is feedback. Seek feedback. There's what we call 360 degrees feedback. Feedback by the people who are your seniors, people who are below you, people you're managing, and your peers. So it's a whole 360 degrees feedback. Listen and get feedback with humility. And the other thing is, be vulnerable to mentors and people who are close to you. Be open to them. Explain to them what you're going through and the challenges that you're going through, because there are people who've gone before you. For me, one of the things I've really experienced in life, I thank God, is given people who have walked with me, people I've confided with, and people who have helped me navigate the leadership challenges that I've faced either in the corporate world, in the ministry. And I can tell you, even being a parent, and it's something you really need to have to get in, so that you also develop a prayerful life of also having self-reflection. Very important. You need to self-reflect on yourself, on your heart, on what you're going on, and what your feelings are as a leader, the challenges that you're going through, and be honest and seek help where you need help. It's also good to journal your leadership, journey and the challenges you're going through. And that is very, very important. When I went to Middle East, that was a very big challenging time for me. I really had to look for people. And then as I'll be talking later, my dad passed on, and that really hit me because I'm the firstborn and there were issues back at home. I really, the place there was a lot of pressure, and I'm in a foreign land, and it really shook my leadership, and it really brought me to a point of breaking. I'll also be talking about that later, and really I learned a lot about really looking at inside yourself, understanding what you're going through, and looking for somebody to confide to, somebody you need to talk to, so that you can be able to deal with the leadership challenges in life. So that is very important. I can't overemphasize that. Please be very careful. Check on your health, mental health issues, because you can carry a lot of load that really pushes you down as you manage, as you lead. And if you're not very careful with the internal challenges that emanate from you, then things may not go very well in your leadership process. So the last one is role-based pressures based on the job you're doing. Different jobs have different challenges. So from strategic planning, if you are a leader, looking ahead, raising funds, if you are a pastor, managing the ministry. So these are the jobs that come to the specific role that you're doing. So the challenges that you deal with them, that's a bit easier. You can look for people to counsel you. You can look for people who've gone ahead. You can use the organization. Different organizations have a way of strengthening and backing their leaders, and also for leadership growth. So depending on what your role demands, it's very important for you just to look for somebody who can counsel you, can stand together with you. How do you do that? You cope by learning. Healthy delegation, very important. Delegate roles. Don't just be somebody who's managing everything, micromanaging everyone. The more you delegate, the more you mentor, the more you coach other people, the more it gives you room even to do other things and even to grow. Remember also, you can never grow beyond the level. If you're not growing and developing people, it's very hard for you to grow to the next level. So create systems that sustain ministry or your job with constant presence. Revisit your vision regularly, check on your health. And so as I finish, I quoting from Martha's, one of the great leaders, he said, an effective leader is one with credibility and capabilities, and they influence others towards the direction of the organization or the ministry. So two things there: credibility. Leaders have credibility, so leading with integrity. That's why we are talking about value-based leaders. You can be a great leader, but at the end of the day, what you did to get there. You can be a great person. Maybe you went through corruption, you killed people, you stepped on so many people. That is not the leadership we are talking about. We're talking about value-based leadership, leading with credibility. And then number two is capabilities. Leaders need capabilities. Capabilities in the area you're leading, in terms of technology, in terms of people relations, in terms of understanding the market and where things are going. So you need all these capabilities: technical capabilities, emotional intelligence capabilities, and this comes with skills. And that's why, remember what we say, the Bible, what the verse I love a lot in leadership is the Psalm 78, verse 72, talks about David. He led with integrity of heart, that is credibility, and then skillful hands, that is capabilities. So that is very, very important for me. It's been a basis of my learning, that I always strive to lead with credibility and also with the capabilities. That's why I'm always learning. That's why I really want to impact even the next people, the next generations, with the skill sets that I have, the experiences I've gotten around, and so that we can have better leaders. Because when we have good leadership, we have good organization, good families, good churches, good ministries, and good country. So leadership is not performance, it's formation. So when we talk about spiritual formation, as you grow in your spiritual formation, also we talk about leadership formation. Leadership formation comes from the small things that we are talking about. How you deal with people, how you manage yourself, how you manage the self, how you manage your internal challenges, the external challenges, the challenges coming from the job that you're doing, and that will make you to be a good leader. So That is basically a summary of the first of the challenges that I've put in my book, and this is about managing internal and external challenges. And we've seen as a summary, internal challenges are very dangerous, and you really have to deal with them. And so there we have put some questions there that you really need to go and ask yourself. That talks about reflective questions, quite a number of them, 5 of them, and one of them is, what one area do you need to ask for help? So you need to review yourself and actually check what internal challenges and external challenges and role-based challenges am I going through? Where do I need help? Another question, how do you maintain emotional health and high demands? If you're in a job place where there's a lot of demands, maybe as a parent, maybe you're managing children and family and a job and a business and career. For myself, I'm managing ministry, I'm managing the consultancy I'm doing, I have a family. There are so many things that I'm managing at the same time. So it's important sometimes to really check on yourself. How do you maintain the emotional health? What support systems have you built into your leadership life? Do you have support systems? Do you have people you talk to? Very, very important. Another question, how do you normally respond to public criticism? When you are criticized as a leader, because if you're a leader, you'll be criticized. How do you take it? Do you take it personal? Do you block? Do you evaluate it? Do you take criticism objectively, or are you just subjective? That is just being emotional and not looking at the facts. So what leadership challenge, external, internal, role-based, are you struggling with this afternoon? So in terms of finishing, taking action, there we're talking about identify your most common internal triggers. So many people, when there are challenges, they have internal triggers and they do something. Some people go to drugs, some go to drinking, some go to music, some take hobbies, some exercise. So it's important to know, how do you manage the challenges that come in, internal, external, or role-based? It's very important for you as a leader to manage them effectively. Build a safe circle of honest leadership feedback. Prioritize spiritual formation, reflection, very important. Address role overload, maybe challenges to do with your job. And don't suffer in silence. Leadership is not meant to be lonely. Look for somebody, talk to somebody, develop yourself and get the skill sets. And as I finish, every great leader breathes somewhere. Don't hide the wound, heal it. So it's very important. Let your scars, use your scars, to teach the next generation, and don't let them sink again to the same problems and challenges that you went. And that is one of the reasons that I've really come up with this book. And the Value-Based Academy. So the course is there. At the back of the book, there is the QR code, which if you scan it, connects you to Value-Based Academy. So thank you. That is just a review of our first lesson, and that's our chapter, and that is the challenge of managing internal and external challenges. So thank you. God bless you. Thank you.